This is part 2 to what if Deku had a intelligence quirk. You can get that for a bit. But yeah. I am retconning some stuff from the last part. Just because I feel like it, but yeah. Once my mom knocked, I'm just retconning that part. Right after that, so yeah. Yeah. So basically, well, the last part of it. So once a sludge villain gets there, Rat Deku just blocks off all of his memories. So yeah, tells him to follow. And All Might basically just arrives, saying, "Give me that villain, kid. You do not know how dangerous he is." And Deku says, "Oh, I know how dangerous he is. You would probably end up going to one of the facilities. So just cut out the middleman. Now, why don't ya?" And All Might basically ask, "What do you mean? What, are you friends with a site door?" And Deku says, "I already know about the facilities." And Toshinori / All Might would say, "What facilities?" And Deku would say, "The experimental ones, of course." And All Might would say, "How do you know about them? What, are you friends with someone that works there?" And Deku would basically just stick out his tongue and say, and Toshinori would say, "Okay, so you're cutting out the middleman, how?" And Deku would say, "I know where one of the bigger ones are located." And All Might would say, "How?" And Deku would say, "Well, I know someone who owns a company." And, well, not someone. He would say, "I know, just know where it is." Basically, pressing a button on his arm and taking a little sheet out of it and just unraveling it and puts it around his face. And he says, "Do you remember me now, Toshinori?" And he would say, You are the doctor, apparently? You're the site director / doctor, aren't ya?" And Deku would say, "I'm a little more than that. I'm the, scientist behind the whole thing." And Toshinori would just be scared of Deku at this point. But yeah. They basically go to the site and say the code, whatever it was before. And yeah. It's even colder out here than earlier. It's pretty late on my end. It's 1 a.m. So, yeah. But yeah. Deku is pretty much... Deku is pretty much just going to be... Well, he's pretty much just going to be telling All Might that there's no need to worry. The sludge villain is going to go into... The sludge villain's quirk is going to help people all over the world. And just, and then just tell All Might that he needs to hitch a ride, And All Might just / Toshinori jumps to the center. And, yeah. Basically, that happens. Deku basically, says code 045 or something like that, and then just chucks a bottle at the receptionist and says, "What am I supposed to do with this?" And isn't a code 045 but a little extreme for whatever this is? And Deku would say, "Look in the bottle." And the receptionist would basically say, "Oh," and just drop it onto the floor, and it would basically go down into the, well, underground. Like, about 30 miles underground. So, yeah. And Deku pretty much would just leave. So, yeah. Then Toshinori would say, I'm running out of time, and jump away. And Deku would be saying, guess that attack is still affecting him. I probably should tell him something about the cure to, he probably should tell him that we discovered a cure for rat a while back. It's not even in the experimental phases anymore. And his company is basically developing gadgets all the time. So, yeah, that's basically why he has set facilities learning about quirks and stuff like that, and trying to upgrade, the weapons and stuff like that. So, the Sledge film is going to start getting so many experiments on him, like electroshock therapy and stuff like that. Basically, they're going to be testing out the vault, and they're going to take some samples of his sludge. So, yeah. And they'll say, ooh, nice, sludge bombs will probably be able to be made. They basically, see the elements that's made of, and try duplicating it. So, yeah. And sludge bombs are achieved. So, yeah. Deku basically just goes home, tries inventing something. Ooh. No, that wouldn't work. I guess, from Big Hero 6, the Rocket Fist? Yeah, that works. But it basically is guided to go around something to create a grapple that, can pull him in. So, yeah, essentially, yeah, Big Hero 6 is, Rocket Fist, but it also has a grappling hook. So, yeah, guess that would work. But, yeah. And, yeah, let's just skip to the next day. Deku is pretty much just going to be going to the UA. Just walking. And, well, no, not just walking. He's going to be taking a limo. And everyone's just going to be wondering who this kid is. And they're probably just thinking that he has rich parents. But they wouldn't know that he's a multi-millionaire on his own. He had no one that helped him. Well, besides Eraserhead. But yeah, besides that. And yeah, pretty much Deku would get A++ on the written exam. Get higher than Nezu. That was the perfect opportunity, you guys would have to admit. But yeah. Pretty much Deku would to get really high on that, get higher than Nezu. And basically Deku gets express permission to use his arm because it counts as a body part, if anything. He can make the argument that it's a mutation type quirk because he already has a mutation type quirk, and it's physically part of his body at this point. So they cannot, do it unless they want Deku to sue him with his entire fleet of his legal team. Like, he has a straight up department full of lawyers and stuff like that. And they are hand selected. Basically, they, yeah, groom them. Like, he even has his own college that he made for legal teams alone. So, yeah, that's basically how good they are. And Deku, not to mention, can be his own lawyer because he studied law. And yeah, the first year he was teaching about law and teaching how to evade it too. So any little loophole, he taught the students how to, go around the loophole. So, to find a loophole and stuff like that. And this is the hugest loophole of all. Just, yeah. He's basically, just going to be saying that, he'll basically, he's basically telling the teachers and stuff like that, and they're all basically afraid because they know what this kid can do. Well, don't know what this kid can do, especially in the legal system, but they did see him ride in a limo. And, yeah. Pretty much, it's a part of his body, since he's technically a cyborg. And he basically says, so if I have to get rid of my arm, and then I'll have to get rid of my eye, and I'll have to get rid of a leg. So, can I take the exam? And they basically are going to be saying this crippled kid has some robotic parts, but they are high tech too. On top of that, they basically say, do you have any weapons inside that? And Deku would say, well, it's legally my body, so yeah. If someone has a mutation type quirk, just like this, would you allow them in? And they would say, yeah, why? Just consider this a mutation type quirk, since I already have a mutation type quirk. And they basically say, can't argue with that. Or something like that. Like, he's basically just going to be fighting them about this. So, yeah. And Deku basically is just going to be, well, Deku does have a robotic leg, but because he wanted one, essentially. Basically, he just wanted one to be even faster. But he's just not going to use some at all in this. He's just basically fighting so he can at least move around, Like, that's basically the only reason why he is fighting about this. But yeah. And Deku is pretty much just going to be getting really high in the exam, even though, basically Deku just uses his wires and reprograms all the robots to destroy other robots. And showing his program, they basically are counted as Deku in this, because Deku explains his quirk where he can do anything to computers or people, because the human brain is somewhat like a computer in a lot of ways. So yeah, just a lot of advanced programming the human brain has, but the human body, on the other hand, is not that advanced. But yeah, sorry to get sidetracked. But yeah, Deku is pretty much just going to get the highest points imaginable. Like, he destroys literally every robot in there in a couple of minutes. Then the 0 point arrives, and Deku basically just smiles, and he basically, gets his arm out, and there's a little pipe emerging, and there's pipes coming out of his fingers, and he's setting it to high blast. And this is going to be his not Hadron Collider, but this is going to be, he's going to call it Hydron Blast or something like that. Basically, it's going to be it's Plasma Blast or something like that. Basically, all of his fingers are basically going to have these little pipes, and in the middle of his hand is basically just going to be a giant conductor for it. Basically, it's going to have like glass plating on it, and well, not glass plating, but it's basically going to have this little thin layer of plastic plating, and once it all collects into a little ball, he basically just launches it into the air, with a lot of plasma shooting straight from the center pipe, and it basically goes about 200,000 miles per hour. So if he did the ball throw, you know how fast it's going to be. Well, it's going to be a little slower, but yeah, that's enough speed, I'm pretty sure, to reach launch. That's faster than launch velocity. Like, that is faster than the velocity you need to get out of the exosphere, whatever the highest sphere in the sky. Basically, point where you reach space. So yeah, especially with a small object that's round. So yeah, and that robot basically just imagine just imagine a nuke, but in a smaller radius. But that's basically how it looked, and the school was surprised that Deku wasn't using that weapon at the beginning, and Deku pretty much just tells them that this is legally my body, so you count that point, and you count that as a rescue point. And they all ask, "How do you know about rescue points?" And Deku says, "Didn't you know?" He basically says, "Don't you know?" And they say, "No, what?" "Since you don't know, I'm not going to tell you." Basically keeping this mystery from them. It's going to bug them. And yeah, Deku basically gets his letter in the mail a few days from then, showing Araka, pleading them to give him points, some of her points, and they're basically saying he should, if anything, give you some of his. And she basically asks why. They say he has the highest points in the record books, and she basically is shocked. But yeah, they basically are just Deku is basically just going to be lounging back in his in his headquarters on the top floor. Basically, it's like 500 floors up, maybe 600. Basically, the penthouse in the building. So yeah. Oh, and he gives his employees rooms. Like he basically gives his employees rooms, and for their families too. It's basically a separate building, but it's right next door. Well, no, it's part of the building, but yeah, it's basically so they're kids, and there's also elementary through 12th grade and college stuff there too. His building counts as a college, a business, and a workers' hotel. Not hotel, but workers' bedding? No. Well, basically what the army has. And, yeah. He's basically sleeping in the penthouse of that entire place. And basically, having a good relationship with his employees. Like, telling them, keep up with good work and stuff like that. And he's basically just going to be sorting out paperwork and see his acceptance letter and basically open it. And he says, "Oh, that's nice." and basically, plonks it in the pot. Basically, basically writes a, basically tells the underlings, the employees that he's going to be taking a break for a while and to do school. And they all ask, "What school would you go to? You're already past college." And he basically says, "Oh, I'm just going to high school." And they all say, "You're at least 18." And Deku says, "Actually, I'm 16." And they all are like, "What?" Because, he's a multimillionaire. And on top of that, he's huge for someone his age. Plus, he owns a prison under the entire facilities. Yeah, no one knows about it there, but only like a couple hand-selected guards and stuff like that. He also has this, military camp, boot camp behind the entire building. So, yeah, which is training people to go way beyond plus ultra. Basically, imagine 40% of All Might. Yeah. Basically, training, like if you were quirk, that's 40% of All Might. So yeah, basically training people to get that high in strength. So yeah, and Deku basically tells them that he's just taking a break from the company for a while. He's going to have to do this because he's planning on becoming a hero. And they're basically saying, "You're already a college grad, and you didn't go to high school. Just explain the logic in that." And Deku says, and basically just walks the other way. Because he's way past college. Just imagine the smartest person in the world. He's that level times 10. So, yeah. He's memorized all world history by then. And all, theorems and stuff like that. So, yeah. And especially what the lab rats do. Basically, all the prisoners are lab rats down in the, subterranean prison. All of them are basically, S-class villains or C-class villains or above. Basically, it's basically, the Sludge villain, I would say, is a E-rank villain at most, but he tried killing Deku, so it's basically what's in that prison. Basically saying that we're going to have to relocate him to a different facility. But do your experiments anyways. So, yeah. Deku is pretty much just going to be pretty OP in this one. And already 23 minutes. Sorry, I went on a rant. Not rant, but sorry, that's such a long video. I do not do these long videos that often anymore. But yeah. So, Deku is basically just going to be, just trying to make the world a better place, one villain at a time. And, Deku's pretty much just going to be doing nothing at the prisons. No one knows why such a young kid is, the warden. Well, not warden, but the owner of the place. And, they'll probably just think he inherited it from his dad or something like that. And they'll sadly be wrong. He's actually 10 times more wealthy than Momo's dad. So, yeah. Pretty much, If you want to do it, and list your shippings down below, because I might do them. I am not that sure which one to do. So, yeah. Just list your shippings down below. I'm going to be ending this way for now. See you guys later, and peace.